Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of IGTV's Friday Favorites. Today's topic is 3 things that I have grown to love about Seattle. And let me emphasize the word grown because I certainly didn't like these things at first. But just like Seattle, they grew on me. Number 1 is the rain. Not a surprise. And number 2 is this cultural phenomenon called the Seattle freeze. And number 3 is just how educated people here are. Okay, so let's dive into number 1, the rain. And not just any rain, I mean the persistent rain that doesn't stop from, say, October until June of next year. For 9 months out of the year, we really don't see a lot of sunshine and we're constantly wet. So as you can imagine, transplants or new people to Seattle, of course, it's a little bit hard for them. And you know what? During my first year in Seattle, my body had such a terrible time adjusting. I slept basically all the time, sometimes throughout the whole weekend. Of course, as time went on, my body started adjusting to it, and now it's the rain and the cloudy days. It just feels very comfortable to me. And to get over that initial hump, what I did was I went outside a lot. I went hiking, I went walking around the neighborhoods, I started running, and by the way, this rain, this 50, 60 degrees and constant misty rain, it's actually very comfortable for runners. So if you're new to Seattle and you are kind of still adjusting to the weather, my recommendation is just to go outside and be as active as you can. Number 2, this cultural phenomenon called the Seattle freeze. Let me explain exactly what it is. So what most people noticed about Seattle is that people here, they're very polite on the outside. Almost it's like they have this glossy politeness, but they don't really try to get to know you in a deeper sense. And as you can imagine, people who just moved here and they're trying to make deep connections and make friends, well, it's very hard for them to get used to this type of culture. And my husband and I, we had a very hard time at first. I mean, he's from both of us grew up in big cities, and we are used to the noise and the big families and a bunch of friends, and we're just used to connecting with people. And guess what? Both of us are actually introverts, but we're just, you know, we just love that connected atmosphere. So Seattle's frozen culture was quite uncomfortable for us. But you know what? Eventually we got over it by just involving ourselves in passion projects and clubs or volunteer experiences. And tell you what, this is from personal experience. Things really started improving when I started volunteering to organizations such as Toastmasters. And what I have concluded from my experience is that people here are not frozen, they're not unfriendly, they just like connecting on a very deep level. And of course, I have emerged into that type of culture, and now I really enjoy connecting with people on a deep level as well, and I totally respect this Seattle freeze culture. Last is just how absolutely and almost overwhelmingly educated people around the Seattle area is. Tell you what, I live in a pretty middle-class neighborhood, and 90% of our neighbors have at least a master's, and that's kind of like the minimum. And you know what? 1 out of 3 people that I meet in my immediate community, they have at least a PhD, and not just any PhD. I mean a PhD in a very technical field. So as you can imagine, when I speak with them and make friends with them, I get quite intimidated. But you know what? You just kind of have to look on the bright side. And what I found is the more I get to know these people, the more I become like them. Because they value education, they value intelligence, I began to value the same thing as well. And now, instead of being intimidated and maybe, at times resentful, I find myself also wanting to achieve better and being very motivated to do well in life and in career. And both my husband and I are finding ourselves wanting to go back to school. And we also find ourselves learning on our own and doing a lot of self-education. And this is the point where I'm going to recommend a website called Coursera.com. Now, Coursera is one of the many well-known online learning platforms out there, and what sets it apart is that it actually has connections and offers classes from real higher educational institutions. So basically, you are getting the same education as students in those institutions and learning from real professors. So there is a free option in most of the classes in Coursera, but there is also a paid version, and if you pay for it and do well in the class, then you can actually earn a certificate in that area. Now, I've tried other learning platforms like Lynda and Udemy, and I just don't think that they go as deep in their content as Coursera. Even though Coursera doesn't offer as wide of a variety of content, but the content that it does offer, and most of its content is focused on something technical, such as computer science or business. But still, the classes are, again, taught from real universities by real professors, and they just go a lot deeper in the subjects. And that type of deep diving into subjects is definitely more for me. It may not be for everyone, but it's definitely what I would recommend. So, Coursera, definitely check it out. And that is it for today. Now, if you are a transplant or if you're new to Seattle, I hope this video helped you out. And yes, Seattle definitely has some quirks, and just like anywhere, there's a learning curve, but give it a chance. It's a wonderful city, it's a vibrant city, it's a growing city, and it's beautiful. And I really hope that you just give it a chance. And maybe, just maybe, you will grow to love this area just like I did. Thank you so much for your time again. See you next time.